And I guess starting off with our topic today, which is about getting the most out of LinkedIn. So when you work in marketing and communications, it's so easy to use your personal LinkedIn account just to talk about what your company's doing and I guess towing the party line and being that person. But for me, there is definitely a point in kind of why you should be writing your own content as you. Does the idea of stepping out from behind the company brand seem scary to you, which I know it is to quite a few people?
So we're going to be talking for about 15 to 20 minutes, and we're going to be looking at sharing why we think that using your personal LinkedIn account and to, boost your presence on LinkedIn is good for you and for your company. And we're also going to talk through some ideas to get you started if you are a bit nervous about stepping out from behind the veil of the company brand and the company logo. Have been there. Have some experience of that. So let's get going.
So question 1, Stacey, is how can LinkedIn help comms professionals such as us? That's the question.
Well, we've both got lots to say on this. I mean, the obvious one is it boosts your visibility, and we're going to come on and talk about how that can help your company brand in the next section. But I think it's also an opportunity to broaden your network. If you're posting, people are more likely to look at personal LinkedIn accounts than company accounts. So yes, that's the reason why you're going to share your company stuff. But it also elevates your visibility. There's a practical element here that if you are getting traction on your personal account, people will tend to follow personal accounts more closely. That will help elevate your company stuff. But if you're posting other stuff, that then helps that as well. And I'm preempting what we're going to say. Sorry. I think there are other elements. It's an opportunity for you to explore ideas and topics outside of what your company is posting about, to set out your stall for what you're interested in, as well as what your company is interested in. And I think it can open other ideas, other opportunities, maybe speaking opportunities. I've got some other ideas, but I'm not going to. I'm going to go to you, Ayo, as I'm waffling.
She's got like a really long list. That's why she's like, I believe you.
Yeah, no,
I think in terms of marketing communications professionals, when I think about when I started in my career, like 22 years ago, which is quite scary. But like, we've always, like, as marketers, you end up with like senior level access from a really early stage, right? You end up working with directors and you actually learn a lot and you see a lot of an organization that a lot of people don't see. And I think that insight and those views and that how we actually see the world, I think is worth sharing. And I also like will help you to position how, if externally you're putting your view out there, also helps to position yourself internally. So like, oh, everyone's listening to her outside. Let's listen to her more inside. It gives you more like gravitas, I think. But I think there's also the horrible fact that when leads are down, pipelines down, people are looking at costs, who's the first kind of area that they always look to kind of restrict and spend? It's us, it's marketeers and marcoms people. So for me, having your voice, having your own personal brand is like your own kind of security net and safety net, and it will give you access to a hidden job market as well, and just help you in terms of having networks and communities who can support you. So for me, I think those are some of the reasons why being a marketing communicator, a marcoms person, and actually having your own voice and LinkedIn is quite important. So
it gives, I completely agree. It gives people insight to who you are as a person. And, we have both been in positions where we've been made redundant. I hate to say the R word, but we've both been in positions where, we have been made redundant. So there's a selfish element to this in terms of protecting, building your profile as slightly separate to the company brand. I mean, there was a couple of things that I also wanted to throw into the mix. It's also an opportunity to experiment and try different styles of content and things maybe that you aren't doing with the company account and the company page. And, you know, might be an opportunity to prove different types of content. And that also helps you develop your skills and, you know, it's personal development as well. So shall we move on? We've kind of started touching on a few of the things now. So this sort of segues very nicely into how building your own personal brand, using your own personal LinkedIn account and posting your own content outside company content, how that actually helps your company.
Okay, so from a company perspective, I think like having individuals that have their own profiles, people do business with people, which is a stat, you know, the fact that we always talk about. And I think there's that whole thing of actually, if people are engaging with your people are thought leaders, they're seen as, you know, the thinkers, the change makers in the industry. And look who they also work for. And I think there is that knock-on effect of you're the firm that these people are working for and want to be involved in. So therefore, you kind of get the benefit of that, of that kind of credibility. And I think as well, you can't get away from the whole fact that people engage more with people than they actually do with a company page. So therefore, there's also the visibility aspect. But, you know, and I think as well, it's just, you know, proving that there is value kind of in what you're putting out. It adds variety. So, you know, from your company page, you might put out one version of a piece of content, but actually, you know, allowing your staff to kind of put their own take or individual spin on something is a great way of getting more bang for your content back as well. So I think there is that whole thing around your individuals make up your company, and therefore their voices are about, I guess, amplifying your company and what your company does. And it's a great chance for kind of make your company seem way more human as well. So I think it all kind of builds.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And I just wanted to highlight that if you do have a question or an idea that you want to share, do pop it in the comments, and we will come to that. If there are any questions, we will try and answer them to the best of our ability towards the end. I would add to that. I agree with that. There's power in the association, and I also think it's important to have variety in LinkedIn feeds. I think if your entire LinkedIn feed is just sharing company content, you aren't reaching a different audience. And there might be different people that will engage with your own content that again benefits the company because you're reaching a bigger network. Companies see human as companies versus the human angle, as you've already mentioned, Ayo. And if you work for, this is obviously works if you are in-house at a company, but also if you're working for an agency, setting your stall out as an expert, as somebody who is knowledgeable and experienced is good for an agency, because you're reaching potential new customers and new clients, and it doesn't necessarily have to be all about what you share as a company. So yeah, I think it's a magnifying effect for, from the individual account for the company account. There is that really strong association. So we know we've both talked about this sort of off camera, and that, that some of the fears that are around posting on your own personal account. Is it going to upset people? How's it be if you're sort of starting to go your own way a little bit? There's time issues, that sort of thing. It can be very nerve-wracking putting your head above the parapet. I had this when I came out of having worked in a corporate environment for pretty much all my working life to suddenly being self-employed. I didn't have anything to hide behind. I wasn't Stacey Meadwell, the journalist, anymore, working for a well-known brand.
Was it easier being like, because you were in Property Week, like, people want to speak to you?
It's Estates Gazette, I would say, rather than Property Week.
Wow.
Well,
PG.
yeah, it is. It was because yes, there is a big power to being a journalist, particularly if you're in one of the big trades. Whether that's Estates Gazette or Property Week or any of the other sort of property titles that are out there. Not we, other property titles are available, because people want to get their name in. They want to talk. They want to talk to you. But for me, it was more about, well, what do I talk about, and why would anybody pay any attention to me, because I'm not a journalist anymore, because there's nothing in it for them, kind of thing. So that was very difficult to get over. So let's talk a bit about how do you get started, Ayo? What would be your tips for how you kind of step out from behind the company profile?
Do you know what I would say? Start small. So it's like take incremental steps. So, I mean, I normally say don't reshare company posts, but actually at first, if you don't feel comfortable, then just add in a line of what you think and reshare that company post. I think it's a good way to start. It's relatively easy, just adding a line of what you think about something. And I think and it's just getting your own spin and getting used to your own voice and actually what you believe and what your thoughts are. So that's a nice way of doing it. And it's a very, very gentle way to start. I think the other thing you can either do is just one of the favorite things I do when I'm quite busy is actually I just look at different publications for like an article that's interesting that's just come out. And again, I would just add my own spin on and link to that. So it might be a marketing related angle, article, something around social media, depending what it is, and actually just give my own spin on that. And some of those have probably been some of the biggest engagements that I've actually had in terms of views on LinkedIn. So I think those are kind of relatively simple ways to get started. And then I guess it's like, then you can kind of go from there. I mean, just initially, how would you start?
I would say yes to sort of adding your own spin when you share stuff. But I think the other key area is commenting. Yeah. And actually you can be a nice stepping stone. And I'm not talking about commenting on your company posts and your colleagues' posts, but just stepping out and commenting on other content that's outside of that area. It could be stuff that you're personally interested in. It could be stuff that's related to the industry.
Yeah.
But that's a really good way. It's really good for your visibility as well. I think commenting isn't used enough by enough people on LinkedIn, and it's really good for your visibility because it comes up in notifications in people's feeds that you have commented. So it increases your visibility. But you can write a couple of sentences. Add value. I mean, don't just say great post or this is really interesting. Say something meaningful, but it's like it is a little stepping stone. And from there, once you've got used to sort of having your voice out there in the world, sort of commenting on other people's posts, maybe think about, okay, I actually have more to say on this. Perhaps I could do my own post and just expand on it a little bit. And take it from there. Use it like that. I know you shared your idea, Ayo, for stuff that you commenting on stuff that's happening in the news. But some other ideas is to think of if we were working in sort of marketing and communications. Think of stuff that that you've seen that you really liked or maybe fails. I mean, a brilliant example of this was. I forget her name, the education minister who really messed up in a press interview, left her mic.
So many, Stacey, it could be any, couldn't it? Let's be honest. How many education ministers have we had? About 7.
But she left. It was really recently, and she left her mic on and got a little bit sweary, which wasn't good. And I saw somebody, I saw a PR that I know share that and just share a few thoughts on sort of the mistakes that she'd made. It's about sharing your expertise, which is a bit different to sharing what your company is doing. So if you've observed something, you've seen a bit of good marketing, or I mean, it depends on whether you want to go down the route of trashing other things other people done, and that can be a little bit risky.
You can
but
trash it in a positive way, Stacey.
Yes, you can. There are ways of doing it in a nice constructive way. But maybe start with sort of good things that you have seen. That was a really great bit of marketing. I know a lot of people shared the Apple sustainability ad video that they made, which was really good, and I saw that shared by quite a few people. So it's that sort of thing. Say why you were sharing it. I saw this, it was really, really good. I have other ideas, Ayo, but I'm sure you have too.
I never have ideas, Stacey. No, I mean, I think the whole commenting thing is a huge one, but I also think like if you're not sure what to comment on, like there's like little tips and tricks you can do. Like you go to the search bar, say #marketing, #built environment, or #construction, and then you can see all the posts there, and you can literally sort by the most recent, and then you could just say, right, I'm going to pick 5 of these and I'm going to comment, and that's your commenting done. So I think there's things like that where you can kind of break out of your own echo chamber as well. So look at the wider industry or those topics that are relevant to you. And I often talk about having like content pillars, which are the things that you tend to talk about. So like mine, for example, I talk about myself because I love myself, Ayo, and then I also talk about marketing or the built environment. So that's my general umbrellas for my content. And I think having those, it means I've got a focus. I know what I write about and what are the key things for me in my business and my profile and what I want to talk about. So I think it's just having a kind of framework that you use and what's pertinent to you and what things are interesting to you. I think some of the interesting stuff I also get sometimes is just experiences. So if I'll be walking to school or I see an ad or I'll have a conversation with a client reading, oh, that's really interesting. So I tend to kind of take notes as I'm going along. So I like have an Evernote doc where I will literally just jot down an idea, because otherwise I will literally forget it in an hour. So that's kind of how I tend to do things. And I also do things like sometimes if I get an idea, I will literally just take a note on my phone. So I'll speak it into Otter and things like that. So it's just trying to find different things I can talk about, different things I can share, things that have inspired me. And it's just finding those things. And also it could be interests outside works and things like that, which I post about sometimes, not that often. But I think it's that kind of the observations, the PR campaigns you like, the people you like, talking about your peers and your community. So there's absolutely tons of stuff that you can kind of talk about. And I think as marketers, we see it all and don't ever think that your views aren't relevant, aren't important, because really they are. And I think more of us kind of just need to find that voice because it's good fun.
Yeah. Definitely. And I think that comes back to the point it was made earlier about mixing things up, and actually, yes, having different types of content, and is there something that you're doing outside of work that you want to talk about? Something, do you have outside interests? Are you involved in a local charity? There's all sorts of stuff that you can drop in on occasions. If there are any questions, do pop them in the comments now, because we're going to be wrapping up soon. Actually, I just wanted to come back to your point, Ayo, about sort of sharing your learnings and things that you have learned along the way. And one example of this, which I'm seeing people do very effectively, is AI, and people who are trialing AI and sort of talking about how they've used it, what the problems they've had, the successes they've had, what they've learned from it. So it could be something like that. Is there an area that you are exploring, even as part of your job, that you could share knowledge and expertise? And that's good for you, but it's also good for the business, because you're visible, you are associated with your company, you're showing that you're knowledge, that you're innovating, I just said innovating and I hate that word. I didn't say that. We'll bleep that out on the replay. But it shows that you're inquisitive, you're exploring. It just shows the sort of direction of traveling. So there's a lot of material. Sorry, actually, no, we have a question from Asil. Hi, Asil. When does personal brand become too annoying?
You're not annoying, Asil.
No, you're definitely not. You're definitely not annoying. I think it's important.
Hard, though, isn't it? And that is the barometer, and that's very personal.
Yeah, yeah, and I think there's, you know, you find your own balance, and I think it's, you know, it's always part of the mix of what you're putting out. You know, so it doesn't, I think if you're only publishing your own stuff and talking about yourself all the time, then yes, that's going to get very, you know, tedious. But it's what you were saying, Ayo, about having your content pillars and actually thinking, right, these are the key areas I'm going to talk about, and making sure that you mix between all your different content pillars.
And also, I think sometimes when you do look at posts that might come across as being more annoying, I always find it's going to be stuff that's either more extreme views or some, yeah, like you said, the kind of self-centered stuff. And it gets a bit too samey and too me, like I would say too me. And I think, yeah, that can get really annoying. But I do think, and also I think there was a trend, wasn't there, early on in like lockdowns, where like post 4 times a day. It's like, come on, that's ridiculous, because that's so much stuff. And that did soon become very annoying. And I think actually I'm going to just keep going on about annoying now, but also I'm doing it positively. But
Yeah.
also I think it's, you know, like sometimes when everything on your feed is the same, you know, like because nobody's really kind of sat there and thought we're all doing exactly the same thing. Let's post a different way. So I don't know, when does personal become too annoying? I keep thinking about this. It's really weird. It's horses for courses, but I think it's a balance. And I think you have to just be aware yourself that you're not just posting all the same stuff that is me, or sell, or too much. And it's a personal thing that you kind of, I guess is inherent in you, I think. So yeah, so sometimes I sit there and think, am I promoting too many events? So like that went through my head, for example, this week, because I thought it's a lot to keep going. I've got this live, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, even though it's interesting, or it is to me. But then if you're looking, you might go, oh, I don't have time for all of that, you know. So you do need to be wary of your own personal, individual, what you're putting out there, I think. But that's up to you to have that.
But the flip side of that is, if you are sharing, if your main tactic is sharing stuff, you know, company related content, or talking about, you know, company related content, actually adding in some stuff that's not that, you know, if that's, you know, if you only have so much of that to share, you might not have, you know, stuff happening sort of 3 times a week to post about, or whatever. You can actually increase your frequency of posting and how you use, and that again is good for overall for LinkedIn. You know, it doesn't like people being too regular, like, you know, 3 times a day or anything like that. It's not a good idea. But actually, if you can consistently put out, you know, content every week, or a couple of posts a week, or something like that, actually introducing your own, you know, some content that is more relevant to you personally, or stuff that you're interested outside of the company, can actually help you post more regularly and more frequently. So that's the flip side. That's the flip side of that.
Did we actually answer your question?
Yes.
Sure.
Let us know. Let us know. Let us know.
Did we actually answer that in a way, or did I just talk about what was annoying? Does anyone else have any more questions for us as well?
Otherwise, we'll move on to our final actionable tip. No questions. Okay. No questions. Well, maybe if one comes in while we're doing our final actionable tip, then we'll answer it. But if not, let's go to our actionable tip. Do you want me to go first, Ayo?
You go first.
There was a slight look of panic on your face then. I don't know whether
that's my brain trying to work.
So my actionable tip is that if you aren't used to posting your own stuff, you don't have to write long posts. Actually, LinkedIn now, it rewards short posts just as much. It used to be a case of you must write 300 words. It's not the case at all now. So, you know, you only need to write 2, 3, 4 sentences. It doesn't have to be a long post. So that would be my kind of actionable tip to take away. Just think of something that you can write about in 3 or 4 sentences.
Cool. My my one tip, what would that be? I think my one tip is just find your voice and do it, because I just think we've all got to start doing that, especially with the whole kind of rise of AI and things like that. I think we've all got to find our own voices, and I think now's a great time to start. We actually have a question from Olivia, Corporate Choice. Could you touch on trialing AI, even though
is that Olivia, is that trialing AI for on LinkedIn or just or generally?
It can be either, just let us know.
Yeah, I mean, I would say for LinkedIn, I just think for your personal account, if you are really, really stuck and you find coming up with content really hard, then use AI to get you started, but do edit, because you want it to sound like you, and there's no point having content on your personal LinkedIn account that doesn't sound like you. People would know. Olivia would never say that like that, and never use that phrase, never use that term. So that would be my thing on AI.
All the AI prompts that are coming in on LinkedIn itself? Like, which have you like suggested posts, and they're also doing like collaborative AI articles and stuff, which is all interesting stuff that it's trialing itself. But I think also, I also think in terms of AI, it's like just you can see there are some comments where people are using AI to actually create their comments, and it just comes off really weird, and it doesn't sound normal or human. So I would shy away from that. But I think using AI for idea generation, if you are not sure what to post, I think that's completely valid, and we've used it ourselves for idea generation. Also, it's good for sometimes, like sometimes I use AI if I do a LinkedIn poll. You can actually put all your comments and responses into AI and ask for it for summaries, just to kind of find what the key themes are. That stuff it can do really, really well. So I think there are kind of ways you can use AI to kind of help you in terms of LinkedIn and what you're doing for ideas, for summaries and things like that. But like Stacey says, you really need to edit, because it sounds like a robot. And it has a certain structure, and once you start using it, you start to see the structure on LinkedIn, and you start to see how people are like wording things weirdly, and you're like, just doesn't sound right. And I think that's the key one.
No, I'm all for that. And the whole, coming back to a point you made earlier, Ayo, is that it's about human to human, and sounding like a human being, and sounding like you, and people will engage with that far more than they will engage with something that just sounds a bit odd and robotic. Cool. Great. So we've answered that question. I've got nothing else to add. If you do have a follow-up question, just pop it in the comments, and we'll come back in the comments to it. And our next B2B Comms Breakdown is on the 20th of October. Haven't decided on the topic yet. If you do have an idea of something you'd like us to talk about, then just get in touch. Just either pop it in the comments here or send us a DM. We're both on LinkedIn all the time.
And that's how you can get in contact with me.
Yeah.
But thank you for listening to us, and we'll see you next month. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.